All right, and we are live. Happy Tuesday, loves. If this is your first time checking out my Facebook Live, thank you so much for checking it out. My name is Dani LeBerry. I'm a virtual licensed psychotherapist and a happiness transformation coach. So I typically work with people who are feeling unfulfilled, overwhelmed, anxious, stressed out, down. So, the month of March, we have a lot of different things going on for the month of March. The month of March is Social Work Month. It's also Women's History Month. It's also Self Harm Awareness Month. So, as you heard me mention those three different topics right there, I will be doing a different Facebook Live on those different topics for the month of March. Tonight, we will be talking about social work. Next week will be Women's History, and then the last week of the month will be Self Harm Awareness. So let's jump right in. Tonight's Facebook Live is pretty short, sweet, and straight to the point. We'll be talking about the history of social work, what is a social worker, and what the difference is between, say, social work and other clinicians, counselors, therapists, coaches, and things like that. So, Jane Addams was a social work pioneer. She was one of the first women to receive a Nobel Prize. In the early 1900s, she's best known for establishing settlement houses in Chicago for immigrants. So, social work, think of basically a group of people advocating for societal problems, challenges, things like poverty, those suffering, inequality. So basically, the challenges of society. That's where social work really started. So, what is a social worker? So, a social worker concerns itself with individuals, families, groups, communities. They really look at not just the person, but also the person as a whole, the environment, which leads me into what is the difference between a social worker and, say, for example, a counselor or a coach, even. So, a mental health counselor or a counselor will look at mental health or mental health disorders. A counselor or a coach will look at a specific set of problems. So, say, for example, weight loss, or if a counselor specializes in anxiety. A social worker not just looks at the person, but they look at the environment. They look at the foundation. And is the person religious or spiritual? Looking at the family environment, looking at the childhood, connecting any dots, if anything, maybe childhood is now showing up in adulthood, relationships, how that person interacts with people, their relationships as far as friends, intimacy, intimate partners. So I hope that gives a better idea. If you have any questions or anything come up for you, feel free, as I always say, to email me. My email is Dani, Dani, at DaniLeberry.com. If you're someone who's thinking about social work, or you're not really sure, you're kind of confused as to, there's social work, there's mental health counseling, there's marriage and family therapy. Of course, I'm biased because I am a social worker, right? But if you look at hospitals, if you go on government websites, federal, armies, things like that, of course, social workers can work in any sort of form, from nonprofits to private practice. But even if you look at, the reason I bring up federal, hospital, and government jobs is because that's to really show you how strong, how far back, how much social workers really lobbied for themselves, to advocate themselves as an established profession. So do your research. Of course, I would encourage you to become a social worker. And if you're thinking about seeing a clinician or looking for therapy, I would also encourage you to see a social worker. So as always, if you found this information helpful, I encourage you to share my video, my Facebook Live. Thank you so much again for watching. My name is Dani LeBerry. I'm a virtual licensed psychotherapist and a happiness transformation coach. Take care of yourself, and I will see you on the next Facebook Live. Have a great night.